So how was your exam? So I hope you saw your performance report. Those who attended regularly, those who practice regularly, I feel have done quite well. Okay. So today's session, I think we can begin. Right. So see, because many people, I think they were telling me about map function, right? So we'll see how to use map function efficiently. Very good. So map function, list operations, few more problems on strings and slicing, right? Then we will see assessment questions also. I'll explain few problems. You can, those who executed, you can see what version of code is better for your understanding, and you can improvise your code also, because many people have seen they have used very complicated way of solving. So what I'm going to do is my version. I'll tell you. If it helps you, refer it, or else you can stick to your own way of thinking, right? But in general, I wanted to tell the people how to optimize your code. Okay. Not all, few problems remaining you can solve by Monday. They have many people. I mean, I got at least 30-40 people. They refined, I mean, like just Anish said, it helped them to understand input output operations, how to read the values in different way. Correct. So I think most of the people face problem in reading the values only, because that's the more trickier part in the Python programs. So once you have clarity on how to read the input values, I think you can concentrate on your logic, right? So in that regard, we have to understand what are the different ways of reading the input in Python. Correct. So based on that suggestion, I'll just revise the map function once again. Then we'll go for list operations. Then few problems we will solve based on strings and slicing as well as list also. Okay. Hope that is fine with all of you. Let's take first example. So this is based on, yeah. Suppose if you want to enter some numbers, right? Enter the numbers. Suppose you want to store them in the list A. So let us take the name of the list as A. So what is the general way you have done is input dot list. I mean input dot split. But again, you have to convert that into list. So for that, what is the better version I told you? We have to use map function inside the list function, right? So map of to which format you want to convert. Then here, second parameter is input of dot split, correct? So this is the way you have to read the list of values on the same line. So where you are reading is also very important, on the same line or in the next line, correct? Then let's print A. So for example, right, this is creating a list of integer values which are entered on the same line. So let us try to enter. Okay. So with this mechanism, can we enter the list of values on different lines? See, when I press enter button, it is stopping the execution and it is only displaying 3. The reason is this syntax will take all the inputs separated by space on the same line. Then there might be a question where you want to enter input values line by line. In that case, how you modify your code, that we will also see. Okay, this is one way. So hope you understood here. So how will you enter? Separated by space, right? So this is fine, but if you press enter button, then only one value is getting read by the compiler. So this is not going to help you when you want to read multiple values on the same line. So can anyone suggest me what is the way, those who have practiced? How will you, my requirement now is, now I want to read suppose 5 values. I want to read 20, 30, 40, 50, each on separate line. So how can you read it? Anyone? In that way. And in the last assessment exam, I asked you to read with the space, with the comma, right? So in this case, will it work with the comma, right? Because I mentioned split operators comma, this will read using comma also, right? So now this try with this thing where I want to enter each on the new line. There are multiple ways to do it. One by one, I'll tell you. This is the first way using map function. My next question is, how can you do enter the values each on the separate line? Anyone? Requirement is what? Enter each input value of list in separate line. So assume I want 5 values. Yes, very good. So this is a simple question, right? Why you guys are taking more time? Already last session I explained. So each value, how will you enter? Yes, taking input in 5 lines and append. Yes, very good. So that's a simple last session, I think. So I've added the reference material also. Those who missed the sessions, please refer it. So what I'm going to do is after conducting the assessment or 3 days before the assessment, I am enabling the material. So those who want to brush up the topic, you can just go and find it here in Python session materials. So here, yes. So for example, so Nikhil has already sent me the data. So if you attended my session, definitely you will be able to see the first last session. The first topic was that only. How will you enter the values? For I in values, numbers dot append int of 5. So this I already told you. So like this, please refer the notes, or while I type on my screen, you guys also maintain a separate notebook and keep typing whatever I'm typing on the screen, right? So yes, I got 2, 3 answers. So this is an empty list he is creating. Then one by one, he is reading here. So let us take this. Then now will you print it? Yeah. So your code is only taking 2 values. Just check it out. What is the mistake in your code? Code it is. Yeah, Nikhil's code is not working. So we'll try this one. I think Nikhil code is working. Samuel code is working. One. Okay. So you see it, since I entered space in the second line, so it is taking space also as output. So what is the mistake here? Maybe the indentation. Both codes are working. Okay, here I have to enter. Yes. You have to tell me. Exactly. So you have to answer me. The reason why I'm telling like this, just to confuse you, those who are attending, giving the attention to the code, what I'm explaining or not. Yes, very good. So first line, what is the first line? You have to enter the total number of inputs. And in the second line, you have to enter the number of values. So for I in range, so generally, if you want to enter one by one, use for loop. If you want to enter on the same line using map, you can use it. So using map, you are entering the input on the same line. Okay, so I have one more version where you can do it all this in the single line. So that topic in detail I'll explain in coming sessions again. So just for your introduction. So list comprehension. Okay. So you can study that from this W3 schools. So what is list comprehension? So list comprehension offers shorter syntax when you want to create a new list, correct? So now, before going to this topic, the same process what you guys told me that we can do it in a single line. List compression to read. So what I want to do? Input values each on new line, correct? So this is what we want to do. So modification, what if we type print int list? I don't think there won't be any change because it's already list, right? Okay. So like you guys mentioned, so you can enter the number of elements, enter the number of elements like this, right? The list and enter the elements each separated by new line. That's the requirement. Okay. So there is a shorter version of doing all this, right? Yeah, understood? So this is called as list comprehension. Okay. The syntax is called as list comprehension. Very powerful technique this is, because many people, if they understand, they generally use this instead of doing this for loop and all. There any way to give different number of without specifying the number of elements and append it? Yeah, there are a lot of such techniques are there. Based on the question, I think you can able to do that. So here also, when you see here, we did mention the number of elements. We can enter as many elements as you want here, right? So that is also possible. Okay. So what is the syntax here? It looks like a list. So you have to mention the expression. What is the expression that you want to perform? So here I want to do input operation. So that is treated as an expression. And for I in the range of A, that means how many elements are there in this A, right? I mean the total number of elements is 5, means this will continue for 5 times. Then each value it takes one by one from user and stores it in L, right? So that is called as list comprehension. So what is the syntax for this is? This is a syntax expression for item in iterable. So if you want to use list comprehension, the value that you are passing to is has to be an iterable object, right? Iterable object. That means if integer value A, that is iterable, right? That means you can go from suppose if you mention 10 as the value, you can go from 0 to 10. So it is also called as iterable value. So as long as the condition is true, right? So in this case, what is the condition for I in range A? So as long as we reach that range, this will keep on looping and read the value one by one, right? So if you want to learn much more about, again, what are the reasons this is used as, right? See, without list comprehension, we'll have to write for statement with a conditional statement inside, right? So this is the general way of doing it. So what we are doing here for X in fruits, if A in X, new list dot append. So whichever string has A inside it, that will be appended to the new list, correct? So new list dot append of X. So for each value in that particular main list, fruits is the list name, right? So this process can be written using a single line. So what they have done here, X is the expression, X for X in fruits, right? So for each value of X in the fruits, if A in X, copy into the new list, right? So X for X in fruits, if A in X. So this entire statement is copying all the strings that are having A inside them and storing into the new list. So that is the another way how the people are using. So this is what I have used, right? So new list X for X in range. So you can use the range function to create an iterable. So if it is not an iterable, you are converting that integer into iterable by using the range function. So what is this one is doing? X for X in range if X is less than 5. So tell me how, what is the output of this code? What it will print? Yes. Does it print all the values from 0 to 10 or only up to 5? So it will print from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So can you explain slowly? Okay, ma. So whatever you're understanding, please let me know because a lot of topics I have to cover. So maybe my language might be a bit faster. No problem. So stop me whatever you want to repeat. If you want me to repeat, you can stop me there. So see, there is one more example. So as I told you, there is an expression, right? So this part is called as an expression. So what is that we have to do? X dot up dot upper for X in fruits. So that means for every string that is there in the list, we want to convert each string into uppercase. So this is acting as an expression for X in fruits. So this X is acting like a index. You can use any other variable. For example, instead of X, you can use Y also. So it is not mandatory. It is acting like an index, correct? So same output you will get. So it has to be just in an index variable you have to use to iterate on each element of the list. Okay. So similarly, what we are trying to check, we are creating a new list. Hello for X in fruits. So what does this do? Basically, for every element in the list, it is getting replaced by hello. Correct. So because this is an expression for each element in the list, we are replacing it with the hello. So it's a very powerful, concept. I will solve few problems based on this concept. So you just understand the basics here. Now here what we are doing, X if X is not equal to banana, else orange for X in fruits. So what is it replacing basically? The syntax might be confusing for you in the beginning, so you have to practice them. Then only you'll get clarity on the errors and syntax rules, right? So what value is getting replaced here? So banana is getting replaced with orange, right? So for every element in the X, if there is a element that is matching with this banana, right? It is replacing that with orange, right? For the remaining elements, it is keeping them as it is, right? So this is the basics of list comprehension. So a lot of ways you can use this technique. So I'll solve some problems, then only you'll get some idea how to use it on the problem solving. So hope you got some idea on the list comprehension. So this is the basic one where we are using it to read the elements from the user, right? Now the same thing can be used. Now in this case, we are reading on separate line, right? Now what I want to do, use list comprehension technique to read values on the same line. Now I want to do the same thing, but want to read the values on the same line. So how to do it? So simple, just like before, use input function directly. Okay. Dot list. Here I'm not mentioning the size. Somebody asked me this, right? So input dot split I have to do because space separated, right? So what you want to do is I want to create a numbers list after this. So num equal to for, since I have not converted every value into integer in the first line. So here I am converting int of num, right? Or I'll take another variable. So int of I for I in where is my list? L, right? Then we'll print that number list. So this is the same example with some modification. Now you saw here we are not even using any for loop, correct? So what we did here using list comprehension technique, we are reading all the inputs on the same line separated by space, separated by space. So this same question I had asked in the assignment also, I mean during the problem solving. So here I am asking you to read using comma, right? So every element should be separated by comma. So now it is able to read the element using comma also, right? So based on the condition, what they're expecting, so you have to stick to that, right? If they mention you have to use list comprehension means you have to use it. So we have some tie up with some consultancies where we are using a new platform. In that platform, there is a concept called as whitelist. I wanted to mention this point for people who are doing some random coding. Please remember this point, okay? What is whitelist? Whitelist means your code, your code should compulsorily contain the topic or the syntax which is mentioned in the question. So what does that mean? Whitelist means, suppose if I say that your code should read the input using only list comprehension, means you have to use list comprehension only. If you're trying to read the values using for loop, it won't accept. Correct? So compulsorily the list comprehension technique should be applied in your code. So that kind of restrictions also are coming up in new platforms. So and something called as blacklist is also there. Blacklist means some people use some advanced techniques. Suppose many people are using functions unnecessarily, they are using functions. So they say don't functions may not be allowed, or that particular syntax may not be allowed, right? So blacklist and whitelist are two concepts which will be integrated in most of the platforms in coming days, because they want to test their knowledge on that particular topic only. So this question somebody asked me during the assessment also. So list topic means you have to use list concept only. Somebody using set and dictionary and trying to solve this, that won't be accepted. So be careful with your understanding of the question and what is the uh, you know uh, requirement for that particular question. So hope you understood this, how to do this, right? Suppose if you don't want to do this on the separate line, still you can further reduce it. So again, using the same concept, list comprehension. So what I'll do is int of 5 for let me take I in. So now what happened here in the previous case? Whatever the input I was entering on the screen, that I had taken as a reference, then I converted that input value into the list, right? Later on. Now these things can be still further simplified. So for I in, so instead of giving the values into the separate list and then converting them into list, here I can do it all on the same line. So you understood here. So I've combined both the statement into single line using list compression. So just observe the difference. What I did here is here int of 5 for I in L. Basically, I was reading inside L first, then I was converting into list of numbers using list compression. Now instead of separating them, same line I've used. So both are allowed. So only thing that matters is the syntax rule. So for I in is the important keyword. So for is should be there, in should be there. In list compression, compulsory keywords for and in should be there. Then this is for converting that every value that you are entering on the screen as an integer. So int of 5 you have to do. Then separate with the space, right? So you can mention whatever the character as a splitting character you can mention, right? So these are the different ways of using list compression to read the data. So mapping, using mapping also you can do. Those who wants to stick to this mapping, this is the easiest way, right? Suppose if you do from today onwards, if you understood or if you feel okay, I can easily remember the way the list comprehension works, then you can learn this technique, right? So both the techniques are same only, so there is no much difference here. So you can use it. And one more thing I had instructed in the last section is eval function. It's a very powerful function, right? This also I had given the hint. I think last 10 minutes I just spoke about eval function. So suppose if you don't want to use neither of them, Okay, suppose I don't want to use map also. I don't want to use list comprehension also. Is there any other way? Yes, there is another way that you can use it. Okay, for example, I think last class, those who remember, they will tell me. So you have to just use eval. Inside you have to write input. Okay. So here, while reading the input, enter values using comma separated. Right. So that means I want to enter the value on the screen, each of them separated by comma. So hope you understood here. So if you are using eval function, so you need not to do all this, process directly. Eval will take care internally that whether it is able to read or not, right? So eval will read the list of input values separated by comma. So basically, it considers that as an expression. And if you see the format, so I told you what is the default data type that eval reads the data into. If you see the syntax, what is the output format here? Anyone? Set, somebody is telling set, somebody is telling tuple. So this is basically a tuple, right? So you please note down eval by default reads the data as tuple. Okay, it's a very important question. The eval by default reads the data as tuple, but I want to convert them into list, right? So one thing is you can separately you can convert. Suppose num equal to list of num, correct? Then print that num. Here I entered two commas, right? So there is a mistake. So now you can observe the difference here. The first one is displaying normal brackets. This one is displaying square brackets, right? So by default, the eval accepts the data in the tuple format. So what is tuple? I will explain after the completion of list topics. Suppose if you don't want to do them separately like this, so while reading only, you just put list function to the entire eval, right? So here, what I did, so eval is reading the input data, then that eval is giving the entire data into the list function, and the list function converting that directly into the list of values. This is also fine. Okay, now you can see the square brackets. So this entire thing can be done on a single line using eval function. Okay. So any doubt till now, whatever we saw? Huh? Now the next question is, let us read, now till now we saw only the input data as an integer values, right? Let us read string data. This is a question for you guys. Take some 2-3 minutes time. My requirement now is, please be interactive. So I want you guys to read a list of string values into the some variable, some list named as n, right? So can anyone do it? So what is the requirement? Read. Okay, I'll give the requirement. Read 5 string values in the list. And how you want to enter? You have to enter all on the same line. Enter the space separated, not the comma. Enter the space separated string values. Okay. So you can use eval, map, list compression, whatever you want to use, you can use it. Okay. Nikhil, does it read the input in the string format? Yes or no? It's a very simple question, right? So why you people are taking more time? Because it is exactly same as what we did till now. Yes. So let us try different output. Okay, let's see this one. Okay, so this is a simple question, right? Just you have to just replace int of x with x. So you should do this within 1 minute. You should be able to send this answer, right? So yeah, m equal to list of, this is also fine. Yes, this is also one more shortcut. So have to print, right? Just a minute. I have to just restart. I just have to restart my kernel. 1 minute. Okay. Well, this also works. Now my requirement is I want to read using map. So the reason why I'm doing this is you should know all the different ways because you don't know what is the blacklist, whitelist they're using. Sometimes they say you should only read using list comprehension. Now suppose if they mention you should read only using list function, right? Now the next answer I want is try to do same thing using map. Okay, I want to read string values using map. Map should be there in your input reading. Map keyword should be there. That is the whitelist concept I am telling you. So while reading the input, map function must be there while reading string values. Okay. So somebody already sent me. Yeah. Right. So this is the correct way, right? N equal to list of map. See what is the change he has done here? Most of you are sending me. So instead of int, what you have to mention here using map, if you want to do, what is the syntax of map? You have to mention the data type followed by the operation, right? So here each value that you are reading from the input should be converted into string using map function. So n equal to list of map of str input dot split. So his list is mandatory there. Without list, does it work or not? So there is a bracket error, right? So no bracket should be there. Function object has no attribute. Okay, so input of, right? This is the problem here. So he missed the double quotes. The input of dot split. Okay, I think I missed one more bracket. List of map str of dot split. Okay, one more bracket is required. Right. So this is also working. So you saw for just reading input values, there are three different ways, right? So this is the using list compression. This is using list function, right? This is using map function. So we should know all the different ways. Okay, don't stick to just one method because you don't know what restrictions they will put. Okay. Now, based on this, let us solve some problems based on the list. Okay. So I hope you have revised from the W3 schools the basics of list as I instructed in the last session. So what I told you guys is to just go and refer this list function, right? So how do you access the list? It's just like array. Change the list items. You can just mention the value and store it based on the index. Then similarly, to add the values into the list, you have to use the append function. How will you remove it? Using the dot remove function directly. Okay. You can use a dot remove function, the list name dot remove, and the value you can mention. That is direct value you are removing. And if you want to remove based on the index, so please remember this. If they mention you have to remove based on the index, means you have to use pop method. So let us try this one. So how to remove list element is the next question. So I don't want to see the strings. Let us work on with the numbers. Okay. Right. So this is deleting based on the index position. That means 67 is getting deleted. So if I use remove function and mention the values, so directly that value gets deleted. So this is basics. I hope you are able to understand. And what happens if you do not specify the index? Tell me anyone. So if you do not specify the index, it removes the last item by default. By default, not this one, pop function you have to use. So if you don't mention, by default, it deletes the last value. So 2435 is getting deleted. So that is the pop function, but the same thing doesn't work with remove. So these are the minor differences you should be able to understand. So remove has to accept at least one argument. That is the error you are getting. So type error. So that means without mentioning any index, it won't work. Right. So you can see why it is showing me X not in this thing. Anyone? What happened here? Even though I'm mentioning the index, why it is giving me this answer? Anyone? Remove needs value to delete. Very good. Okay. So for remove, you have to mention the value. So you have to carefully see what you are passing to the function. So without understanding that, you will get a lot of such errors. Very good. So I want you guys to be attentive. Whenever I'm asking doubts, so just be attentive. Then you will get a much more clarity. So remove doesn't work with the index, whereas pop works with the index. So that clarity you should have. Then alternatively, there is a delete keyword also. DL keyword also removes the list element. DL keyword can also delete the list completely. So both it is possible. If you just mention the list name with the DEL, it will delete the complete list. If you want to delete a particular element, you have to pass the list name followed by the index value. This also works with the index value. Then how to clear the entire list? Just dot clear function, right? So these are some of the basic list operations, right? Then you also saw how to loop the list for X in this list, all these things you already saw. You can use range, print all items by referring to their index number, right? Suppose you want to refer based on the index position, if you want to print, then this is the way range function you can use. Generally, if you want to print, that is also possible. For X in this list, you can do this. But if you want to get the exact index number, you can use for loop I value, you can print. While loop also you can use it. So list compression you already saw. So for sorting, we use sort method that also you last session I told you. Copy list from one list to another list, dot copy we can use. And how to join to a list? Just do +1. Okay. So list 3 equal to list 1 plus list 2. This will join both the list, right? And most importantly, these list functions I asked you to revise and come. So based on this, we will solve some problems so that we'll understand how to apply them based on the question, right? So these are the basics of list operation, I think, which every student should know. So index is also very important function. So what is the index takes as the argument? The index method returns the position at the first occurrence of the specified value. So syntax, you have to always give the importance. So what is this element representing? The value which is there in the list, right? So based on the index, it will print you the, based on the value, it will print the index number, right? So what is the value I'm passing here? 32, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's why we're getting the output as 3. So these are the important list operations that every student should know. So any doubts in this list operations? Hope you can refer and study from this website. So it's very simple to understand. Now, based on this, let us do some problem solving, because as I told you, whatever you are seeing here is all basics of Python concepts. Based on this understanding, you have to apply them in the problem solving. Okay. Now let me give some criteria for the applying the list operations. So let's see how to apply the list operations based on the question. Now, what is one thing that you didn't observe in this list methods? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, so here, right? You saw list operations. List method, yeah. So what is one thing that you are not seeing here? Clear is there, copy is there, insert is there, pop, remove, reverse, right? So how can I check if the list is empty or not before doing the operation? So there is some exercise problems also. You can just submit the answers and try your knowledge based on the understanding. So what I have to type to print the values? Just type fruits here. Okay. Sorry. So what is that? Print the second item. So you have to mention the index number, fruits of 1. Let us quickly do this. So change the value from apple to kiwi in the fruits list. So how will you change the value from apple to kiwi here? What you will write here? Why you want to use replace? They have already given the syntax. Equal to should be there. What should be written here and what should be written here? Change the value from apple to kiwi in the fruits list, right? So this is apple should be changed to kiwi, right? So obviously on the right side, you have to mention the kiwi. On the left side, you have to mention the index position of the apple. So fruits of 0. 0 is the index position, right? So let us see. Not correct. Why? Okay, I am missing double quotes here. So double quotes is mandatory, right? Because it is a string. It's not taking. Okay, spelling mistake. So fruit spelling was wrong. Now tell me, use the append method to add orange to the fruits list. That means they are asking you to insert a new element into the list. So how will you insert a new element into the list? Obviously, you need to use the append function. So how will you write it? Fruits dot append in the bracket. What do you have to mention? Orange. Okay. Now what they're asking, use the insert method to add lemon as the second item in the fruit list. This is, let me see how many of you can do it. Use the insert method to add lemon as the second item in the fruits list. That means second item is banana here, right? That should be updated to before this banana, you should get lemon. So the output should be apple, lemon, banana, and cherry. So they have given half code and asking you to complete it. Okay, so Abdul has already sent it immediately. Right, so let me try it. Fruits dot insert. So insert function is important, right? So inside that you have to mention the position. So where they are asking you to enter second element. Second item is first position because index starts from 0. Okay, so hope you understood here. Now use negative index to print the last element in the list. So how will you use negative index? Fruits of, right? So fruits of minus 1. So you know that in the last session we discussed about slicing. So to access the elements from the backwards or from the right direction to the left, you have to use the negative index. That means you have to write -1, -2, -3 in that way, right? So next question. Yeah, read the question. Use the range of indexes to print the third, fourth, and fifth item in the list. This is a bit tricky, so let me see how many of you do it. Use a range of indexes to print the third, fourth, and fifth item. So obviously they're asking you to apply the slicing concept here, correct? Slicing concept you have to apply. Yeah. So Nikhil is telling 2:5, Raja is telling 3:6, Vijay is telling 2:6. Yeah. So all different answers. Slowly, slowly. Okay, Smriti. No, the reason I am going a bit fast is these are all sample exercise problems. Smriti, whatever you are not understanding, please post it immediately because I am giving time to ask me the doubts. If you're not understanding, please post it immediately before I go to the next topic. Okay, 2:5, 3:5, 3:6. A lot of answers, a lot of different answers. So let us check most of you have given 2:5. So the correct answer is 2:5. So why 2:5? Third, fourth, and fifth element you have to print. That's what they're asking, right? So apple, banana, cherry. So that means from here, cherry, orange. So from the, if you see directly, what is the third element? Cherry, right? But if you think about programmatically, to access third element, what is the index you have to use? 2, right? So because list always starts from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2. So we have to start from this cherry means we have to give the index as 2:5. So up to fifth element they are telling 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So use the range of indexes to print the third, fourth, and fifth item. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means I have to give 5 here. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm printing kiwi if I mention the index as 5. Correct. So this answer is correct. But why he has sent 4 here? Understood? Question, use the correct syntax to print the number of items in the list. Yes. So they are telling, they're not asking you to print the elements in the list, but they're asking you to print total number of elements in the list. Count, length. So I think this they have not mentioned. Maybe in the beginning you should have studied. When you study from the site, in the beginning only they would have mentioned. So length is not correct, boys. Length is correct or not? Yes, sorry. So length of, maybe I was missing the bracket. Yeah. Okay. So like this, if you practice, you will get to know how much you are able to understand from these kind of sites. So do these exercise problems and see where is the syntax mistakes you are doing, because it's all about syntax errors only. Once you are able to solve the syntax errors, definitely you will understand the logic easily. Okay, based on this hint, hope you got some idea. So can we remove multiple elements? Yeah, you can do it. Use for loop and try to move it. What's wrong in that? Okay, so let's see some problems. Problems. So what was my first question here? where I was asking you about how to check whether the list is empty or not, because we don't have any function to do that. Correct. Before doing the operation, I have to check whether the list is empty or not. Correct. So whenever you create an empty brackets, that is called as an empty list. So this is an empty list. Suppose if I print this L, I will see that's empty list only. But sometimes the restrictions will be like this. They say don't print empty list. If the list is empty, print some message. Message like print empty, list is empty, that kind of message. So how will you do that? Yeah, you can do it using if condition because there is no other way. Because we don't have any inbuilt function to check whether the list is empty. Correct. So the only way is to check using if condition. So you just add if not in, if not L, like not in is not required. If not L, if not L. So what I want to do is just print some message. List is empty. Right. Yeah, this is one more way somebody is suggesting. So let's see. So this is a basic way. If not L, print is empty. List is empty. If length equal to length of L equal to 0. Or it's mandatory. See, we got two approaches. So somebody said one more approach here. If L equal to false. False is not defined. So what is mistake here? Can anyone tell me? Name false is not defined. What is the mistake? So Boolean value always starts with capital F. Correct. So you should be very careful. So this one is not printing anything. So I was just trying because I never tried this way. So if L equal to false, sorry, list I deleted. So it's not printing anything. So just try whether it is working for you guys. But first two approaches, I hope you can refer. So if the condition is like this, yeah, this none keyword, yes, very good. So I think none also is an important keyword. But again, it won't see the problem is it won't enter the list body only. I mean, if condition only. The problem is if the condition is false, you won't enter the list body only. Correct. So none is useful only for the loops. So that's why you have to use the not keyword here. The not keyword is checking the reverse condition. It is not checking for true condition. It is checking for false condition. And if that condition is true, then it enters the loop body. I mean, if body. Correct. So just stick to this one of these methods or whatever works for you. Just understand the question. If they want you to print something like this, you can use whatever the approach that is that you are understanding or you are flexible with. Okay. So hope this what we did here. Checking list, checking for list is empty manually as we don't have any function. Okay. Now let's do the problem solving because I think we saw a lot of ways of doing the operations with list. Let's see your problem solving thinking capability now. Okay, so I'm typing the question. So just or just give the hint. No need to type complete question. So using the list concept, I want you guys to do. So I don't want any other method. So as I told you, you can use for loop, strings, list. These are the only thing you can use or uh, within that range. I mean, we don't use any other function, any other topic, which I didn't not yet explain. So like whitelist concept, I'm telling you, you have to stick to the question and based on that topic only, you have to solve the problem. Now, what I want you guys to do is read a list of strings. Okay. Let me type the question first. Read list of strings, string values, right? Then from this list, I want you guys to count. Okay, okay, count the number of strings whose length is more than 2. Okay. Along with this, also whose first character and last character are not the same. Okay, this is the question. So what you want to do is read a list of string values on the same line. Okay, separated by space that I should have mentioned. Okay. Read a list of string values on same line separated by space. Okay. Then what I want you guys to do is count the number of strings in that whole list of strings whose length is more than 2. I mean, I want to print the count of those strings whose length is more than 2. Correct. While printing that, the another condition should match. What is another condition? Also, whose first character and last characters are not same. For example, what do you mean by this? Suppose the madam is a keyword, is a string, right? And if you check with this another string or Malayalam will take. So you see the first character is also M here for the first this string, and the last character and the second string is also M. So these kind of strings we should not consider. So hope you understood the question. Can you solve it? At least step by step, let's go. We were understanding what is the first thing that you have to do. Because it is a string means you need not to do inter conversion, type conversion and all. Directly read the list of strings. So let us read a list of strings. So this one I can tell you. So dot input dot split. Okay. So obviously here you can read a list of strings separated by space. So this is simple, right? Up to here. Now, obviously, since I am asking you to count, so you have to use count variable. So initially count is 0. This much I can tell you. So let us print the strings. Suppose what I'm entering, just observe. Okay, something like this. First character A. Okay. So this is your question, right? So these are the list of strings I've entered. So just forget about the logic. Tell me what value should be, what is the count if I, based on the question, what you understood, what should be the count? Count the number of strings whose length, whose length is more than 2. Also, whose first character and last characters are not same. So more than 2 we have to fetch obviously. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let me just give some other input because here Kash, B, first and last characters are not same. That's the question, right? Okay. So now I've just entered a few values. I want everyone to understand the question first. So first process is about understanding it. Then you can do the problem solving. Don't hurry up. Go slowly. Now, based on this input, what will be the output? What will be the count? So obviously, Akash will be counted. Abhi will be counted. Varun and Vaibhav will not be counted. The reason is here the first character in Varun is V, and here the last character in Vaibhav is V. So both of them will not be considered because though their length is more than 2, we can't consider them because both the conditions should match. Right, first character and last character should not be same and length should be greater than 2. Both the conditions should match. So since they are not matching the condition, the output will be only 3. Akash, Abhi and AK will be the output. Okay, now let's see. It's a simple question. How many of you solved it? Let's see. Many of you use different way. So try to do it by yourself. Okay, don't copy from here and there because I don't know how many are doing it genuinely. So it's all about your knowledge. If you're showcasing here by yourself, understanding it thoroughly, then I'll be happy. But just to prove your point, don't copy from here and there, and it is a loss for you only. So try it genuinely. Those who are able to understand it, try genuinely. Those who are not able to understand or feeling it a bit difficult, you can see how the other people are doing it, right? So in that way, we can definitely uh, understand. So you can either use simple approach or you can use list comprehension. So a lot of ways are there. So I don't know. First thing we will do is let's stick to the simple approach. I think this may work because it is simple approach. Samuel. Okay, Samuel is given this. Okay, first thing I will just do is just give me a time, guys, because there are few people who always give me the answers. Nikhil, Anjali. So what is your score, guys? Anjali, Nikhil, Ahlad, right? So what is your score in the performance report? Samuel, Vinay. Can you guys mention it if you don't mind? Or you want me to check myself? 200 Nikhil got out of out. Okay. What about others? Samuel always answers the question, so I just want to know. Anjali, okay, very good. Not bad. So there's one more Nikhil. Okay, 147. Samuel, what about you? Vinay, 8, Vinay, 200. Fine. Fine. So I just want to see if you're confidently solving the problems or not. Those who are answering. Okay. So see here. This is a simple approach. Samuel got 185.71. Okay. Not see all of you have a good marks only. So I can trust you guys. Fine. So input dot split count equal to 0. So what he's doing here is taking index variable I, right? Our string in this case, he is taking that as a string in the list. So what is the condition he is applying? You obviously you need for loop to solve this problem. The reason is you have to compare each string with another string. So you have to sort it down in that way. So break your problem into uh, divide it into multiple parts. So in that way, you can definitely able to apply the logic one by one. So first, these two step is common, obviously. So for string in ls, if length of string is greater than 2, that is the first condition, right? So he is applying the length function. As soon as you see the keyword length, you should get into the thought that, okay, length is required to calculate the length of each string. It should be greater than 2. That is the first question. That should be satisfied. And keyword you have to use. So your double and won't work in Python. So some people in the last assessment, they were using double and for that FizzBuzz question. So don't use double and. So here and keyword you have to use. Then by seeing this last point, whose first character and last characters are not same means immediately or slowly, not immediately means See, when you solve it for the first time, you may not get that thought in mind. But when you frequently solve the problems, definitely your learning process will improve. So first character and last character means how can you simplify this approach without comparing every character one by one? So that's why Python is having slicing concept. So he has applied slicing concept here, right? So 0 means he's going from the left side, -1 means he's coming from the right side. So both the characters should not match. If this condition is true, then only is incrementing the count. That is one way. Correct? So simple approach and operator. Very good. So this is one way which you can work with the question. So let us give the same output what I mentioned above, and whether it gives me uh, three answer as not. Let's see. Okay, so very good. So it is giving me the output as 3. So fine. This is the basic code where he is not using any complicated approach, right? So you can follow this approach because it is simple to use. Any other approach people have used? Okay, this guy has used list compression based on today's technique. So today we discussed list compression, right? So he's applied today's knowledge in this question. So what he is doing, he's reading the elements through the list compression, x for x in input dot split. You can check the list compression technique, right? Then after that, what he is doing, x for x in L, same process, he is just written in the simple line, same line. So I told you guys, right? So you can avoid for loop by using the list compression. So x for x in L, if length of x is greater than 2 and x of 0 is not equal to x of -1. So all this thing he has written in a single line. So this also is going to work. Okay, he's not printing the value. So does it print the values? Just tell me anyone. Does it print the values or does it print the list? So what is the change you have to do, Vinay? Here you are only copying the this thing. So instead of printing p, what do you have to do? Length of p, correct? Understood? Now this is the important point actually. What if the same question, if the question was written like this, instead of mentioning count the number of strings whose length is more than 2, they would have mentioned also print the list values. Also print the values, correct? That time, this might help you. Now using for loop, what is the change you guys will do? Suppose I want to do the change here. So what you will do, you will take another list, ls2, correct, empty list. Then if this condition is true, instead of doing count plus plus, what you will do? What is the statement I have to write here? Tell me. If the condition is true, what I have to do here? Anyone? Very good. So ls2 dot append of ls, not ls. Is it ls, guys? What I have to mention inside the append? So, so very good. Nikhil and Vinay got it right. So instead of ls, what you have to write? String you have to write because that is the iterable object, right? Which is iterating the entire list elements. So for simplification, always use I. I always use I because in my mind, subconscious mind, I always think I as the index. So wherever I want to use I immediately understand that it is a basically acting like a iterator for my list. So you can write here ls2 dot append of I. So it becomes easy to remember. So after this, let me print that ls2 whether it works or not. Let's check. Okay, so you see, I'm getting 3 also, and I'm getting those values also. Understood? So based on this approach, you have to adjust the code accordingly. Any other answers? Any other solution? Okay, he has applied list here. So almost all of them are same only. Yeah. So he's also used the same approach. Okay. So hope you are able to, all others are able to follow, right? how to think about the logic. So anyone have doubt on this question? Please let me know. Especially what's her name? Yeah. So can we solve just one more problem? Is it okay? Smriti, yes. Smriti, where are you? Please respond. Can we just solve one more problem based on list? So which one is more approachable code for this question, sir? Okay. This is as it is a simple question. Uh, if you use this also doesn't matter. If you use this also doesn't matter because both of them will give you the same time complexity. So you need not to worry much about it. Okay. Okay, Smriti. Uh, let's solve one more problem based on this list topic. Simple question. Don't see, as I told you, you should stick to the uh, list concept only. You should not use any other thing. Simple question. Remove duplicate elements in the integer list. Integer list means it has to accept only integer values. Yes. Start writing the code and let me know. Remove duplicate elements in the integer list. And if to make it more complicated, let me just add one more condition. Okay. After removing the duplicate elements, print the list with unique elements. So take your time, no problem. But it's better, guys. Now do one thing. If you're able to do it, keep it yourself. Don't post it immediately in the chat box. When I ask, you can post it, right? Because let others give some time to think. So when I say what should be the first line or what should be the second line, in that way you can keep posting so that your knowledge others will also understand, and some people will get time also to think because we want to go a little bit slowly as you know many students are learning from the beginning. So Malesh, I told you clearly. I think you didn't listen to my information. Don't use any other thing apart from list. Set is a very powerful function. I will teach you that once the topics comes. But right now, stick to the topic. You should only use for loop. You can use list. You can use. Don't use anything else. Yeah. If you want me to, so see when I don't mention any length of the list, you can enter as many elements as you want to. So there is no limit on the input numbers. So you can enter as many enter elements as you want. That means you need not to worry about size of the list. Correct? I think should pop them, sir. Okay. Think. So removing, you can use pop, but okay. So I think there is ambiguity in my question. So let me simplify it to it. Uh, you can ignore removing part. Read an original list. Read a list. by ignoring duplicates and print the new list. Read a list and by ignoring duplicates, print the new list with unique elements. I think this will simplify your approach because if you want to remove and create new unique means it takes some time. So I'm based on the time constraint, I'm just updated the question. So just you need to enter normal list, right? Separated by, yeah. Obviously we have to convert that into how will you enter a list of integer values as I said you, right? So can you use a map or do you want to use a list comprehension? So any technique you can use here. So if you want to use this one, you can use list comprehension or simple approaches. This is right. Map, enter the list of numbers. So let me give that hint to you guys. List of map of int comma input dot split. Okay. So Raja is deleting, popping them. So I ignored that condition. So don't pop it. Okay. Just ignore the duplicates and print the new list with unique elements. That is the question. Okay. Yeah. So here, okay, fine. For x in A, if x not in B, okay, this might work. So most of you have given that only. Okay, so many approaches you've given here. So let me discuss these approaches. Any other approaches you have? Okay. Okay, just quickly let us go through these approaches. So I don't want to type them and execute. Just I'll zoom this. Is it possible to zoom? No. Okay. So one approach I'll just execute for your understanding. That's the reason I won't copy here. See, generally, Jupyter Notebook doesn't doesn't work properly if you do copy paste. In the cell, you can do it. Yeah, so I think without using anything, he is doing this. Yes, any other solution? So he has directly created a list of input values. He's assuming the values by himself. So, but you have to read the value from the input using map. So what is the comparison is doing for x in A, for each element in this list A, if that x is not in B, if that x is not in B, then is appending. Okay. So like that, what happens after the first iteration? First value will be 2. Then the next value 3. Already B list is having 2 inside it, correct? So 2 will be compared with 3. I mean, x is not in B, so 3 is also not in B. So B in B, we are updating 3. Next value is 5. So 5 also is not in B. So we are updating that 5 to the list B. But the fourth value is again 5. So this condition will be false, right? Because already 5 is in the second list, that is B, right? So it won't execute for the fourth element. So we ignore that. Then again, we go to next element 6. we update it to B, but the last element again repeated, you won't add it. So this is the simplest approach. Now to see your thinking approach, what is the approach many of you followed? So I have also followed the same approach. XYZ. Please mention your name XYZ. Don't you have identity? Okay. So please change your name. Yeah. So Raja Sahib. So Raja Saidar. Okay. Now I ask you to do the comparison. So what up till now, this approach is better or this approach is better? Because what he's doing here is removing and printing is popping out and remaining values is printing. Now, if you ask me to which version of the code is better here, because somebody asked me previously, comparing with this and this, the first approach is better because this is taking more time. The reason is you are using two for loops. So maybe this won't help you in to match certain test cases. Similarly, here also he is using sort function. So after why you are sorting here? Because he's comparing each element if x is not equal to x plus 1. Because when you sort, all of them will come on the same line, right? Suppose 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is written. So all of them will be 2, 2, 3, 4, 4. Like this, you will get the item sorted. Then what is comparing? The XYZ is comparing each element with the next element. So if x is not equal to x plus 1, then only is appending, otherwise is ignoring them, correct? So these two is ignoring. Problem with this also, you are using sort, right? It puts more load on the compiler. So sort has some extra time complexity to sort them, then think about the duplicate element, right? So this is also not a better approach, right? And similarly, this is okay because he's counting also, then he's printing also. This is also fine. The last approach is interesting. So let's see what he has done here. Okay, sorry, I am entering with the right. So 3, 5, 3, 7, 5, 3, 9, 10. Okay, some random elements are entering. Okay. So he's getting the correct output just with the symbol. So this is also a simplest approach because he's not using any other extra headache on the compiler. So int of x for x in input dot split. So he's using list comprehension. Then again for the filtering also is using the list comprehension. But the problem with this is x for x in L if L dot count of x equal to 1. Okay, this is fine because uh, if you are mentioning about unique elements, that should exist only once, right? That element should exist only once. So that means his approach is comparing each element whether it is appearing only once. So L dot count of x equal to 1. So print p. So now, according to me, compared to all the versions that you people have sent, this is the best version. But again, does it not have the same complexity? Yes, this also has the same complexity, and those who use the append function also has the same complexity. But in terms of writing the number of lines of code, I think this is the most simplest version, right? Sir, element 3. Sir, it's printing only. No, is it? Yeah, sorry. So why it is okay, okay, I didn't upload the output. Okay, guys. I think hope you understood. All of you already found it. Instead of you know printing that value, he is actually uh, ignoring those values, duplicate values. So try to modify this or whoever wrote this code. Now your task is to how will you modify it? X for x in L if L dot count of x equal to 1. So only if it is appearing once, he is updating into the new list. but we don't want that, right? So for x in L, if L dot x equal to 1, you can use else part, else x dot append. Can you do it another list? I don't think this will work. Let's see. X dot. Let us take some other list here. So I think list compression doesn't support else part. So you should use another approach, because what does the list compression says? Only if for true condition, else it won't support. So like this, you have to do trial and error method. Within list compression, you can't do that. L dot count of x is in reverse. You can do x for x in L if L dot x count of x less than 2. Yes, let's try this. Mm. Count is less than 2. This also won't work. Okay, you just find the way, because it's almost a good solution. After this, what you want to do? L dot count of x equal to 1. Why it is not printing remaining values also? Yeah, I'm printing the rest. Sorry. Now it might work. Let's check once. No. So it is only printing the count whose value is less than 2. So try to change it if possible. X, Y, Z. Yeah. Let's check this one. Array of 5 for I in range. Okay. Because according to me, even I follow this approach. You have to try the list comprehension. If you like, you have to try it. And now what he is doing here? So he's accessing each element based on the index. Okay. Array of 5 for I in range, length of array. Okay. If I equal to array dot index of array. Can you explain this? What is this condition? What do you mean by this? One, 5, 3, 6. So what about the remaining element? Let me check with the other elements. So this logic, you have to explain what you have done here. XYZ, because this looks a bit complicated. Not easy to immediately crack this kind of logic. So whatever you have done here, you should have a clarity. But no need to worry about list compression immediately. First up, try to do the brute force. So this is called as brute force approach. Okay. Brute force means whatever you are able to try it using for loop if condition. First, stick to the brute force approach only. Then try to think, can we do it using list compression or any shortcut? That is the later part. Okay, so we add the items to the array only if the first index of an element in the array is the current index of the element. Okay. So basically you are doing the index comparison or what? Right? Hope this point if people are able to understand. So we add the items to the array only if the first index of the element in the array matches the current index. So it's not comparing. So what is index function here? Those who don't know, you should know what is index. So we saw already list functions, right? So array dot index. So index function returns the index of the element. So he's basically comparing the indexes. If there is a matching index, right, which matches the current index of the element, or else it ignores that. We add the items to the array only if the first index of the element in the array matches the current index, right? So instead of comparing the value or comparing the count, he is comparing the index position. So try to trace this. If you still won't understand this, post it in the query section. I will explain in detail how this code works because I could understand this logic. Though I didn't try this, I can understand what it is. But even I tried this basic approach only. Even I didn't use any list compression. So when I try these kind of questions for the first time, I always try to learn it using brute force. Then I'll see if anyone is following the different approach because this is what makes your job easy to understand because you are starting fresh, right? So stick to this approach. Those who are learning from the scratch, right? Those who are already knowing this kind of logic, try to apply this list comprehension or other techniques and able to do it in a different way. Okay. So based on these kind of questions, please try to change your approach and whatever works for you, stick to it and be confident about it. When I ask for the explanation, you should be in a position to explain it. Then that is the right way of learning. Fine. So I think we are already 5 minutes late. So in the next session, we will cover a few more problems based on the list, and we will start with the tuple and sets and dictionaries, right? And before going to that, I will give some questions based on slicing and strings in the model on Monday because we have next few holidays coming up in the next week. So try to utilize that time and practice in the model. String and slicing questions I'll enable on Monday. So I couldn't cover some problems on the assessment. So please remind me in the next session. I'll try to solve few problems in the next session. Okay, string and slicing questions I'll enable by Monday. So till Monday, you have time to solve all the assessment problems and complete your looping problems. String and slicing questions are coming up. Then after that, I'll be adding list problems. List questions are coming up. So I'm still framing the questions, so I need some time to prepare the questions. Okay. So string slicing, list questions, all these topics, new questions will be added in the Moodle. So just keep an eye on the Moodle and see if there is any new question added. So just if it is added, start solving the problems. Okay. So we'll meet again on next Tuesday and continue with the remaining topics. So hope this speed is enough because with this speed only I'm not able to cover the topic. So those who are feeling it difficult, try to, you know, aspect because we have to cover a lot of topics. Yes. Yeah. Please keep trying. Vinay has come up with some other approach. P dot append of x for x in LST. Basically, what you've done is the same approach you converted into list comprehension. So this is not a different one. It is same approach, brute force approach, but instead of using for loop, you have done it using list comprehension. Okay, this is also fine, not an issue. But this is a bit tricky approach. What this guy has given. Not many people can understand it until and unless they know how to trace it. Okay, so try to see both the examples and whichever you could able to understand, you follow it, not an issue. But others, hope you are able to understand the basic approach. So I always suggest one or two ways, and I'll suggest you what is the best way for the beginners and what is the best approach in terms of complexity, time complexity, and in a number of lines. If you take that into consideration, what is the best approach? So like that, we have to understand the codes and prepare accordingly. Okay, so I'll see you in the next session. Have a good weekend and keep learning. Thank you. And I am replying in the Q&A forum, and you will get a message in your personal email ID, where whatever you mentioned in the model. So if I reply any answer in the Q&A forum, you'll get a mail to your mailbox. So please keep an eye on your mailbox also.